You never really realize just how attracted to chaos you are until it comes knocking at your door. Let me tell y'all a story about this girl. There was a girl who had really bright, beautiful eyes. She gave to the homeless. She was nice. She was sweet. And she thought of herself as humble. But she goes out into the world every single day. Every day. She sees these toxic couples. She sees people who make bad decisions, who take just too many drugs, who spend too much money, who walk and talk in a way that doesn't uplift themselves. And she doesn't necessarily judge, but she uses these specific words, words her friends have used, words people all over social media have used. She says that could never be me. Why that could never be her? Because she had the fight in her. She knew how to say no. Or so she thought. She knew who she was. Or so she thought. She knew who she was going to be. Or so she thought. So she sees these people. She feels bad for them. She tries to understand them, but she will never really know until she is in that situation herself. And so she's going around with her normal group of friends. They see this toxic couple, and her friends are laughing, oh, poor him, poor her. But that could never be us. Because there's something about us that is just better. There's something about us that would never have us in that situation. So they go on about their day. One person goes this way, one person goes that way, one person goes that way. And they're all living their lives as normal. They're all living their lives as normal until one day she meets somebody. And when I tell you that person was a storm, they waltzed in like a storm. But it was probably one of the most beautiful storms she has ever seen. On paper, if you pulled up their documents, their records, you would see red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. And she saw the entire list. But that person was just so beautiful to her. But she's seen this story many times. If she could take this to the office, they would say, yeah, that is definitely how Mark and Kelly started, and now, they're toxic. That is definitely how Jordan and Ellie started, and now they're toxic. So she's seen this many times. She gets her stamper, those things, and says, rejected. She knows this story too many times, and that's not her. That could never be her. She goes on about her day. Next day comes around. She's with her friends again. Another toxic couple. That could never be her. And then that same person pulls up to her and she still feels this way towards him. But she already rejected him. So why does she feel this way? That could never be her. That is such a ridiculous thing to do, She's already seen the paper. She sees the red flags. It's listed right here. So why would that ever be her? Nope. Rejected again. This is easy. She goes on about her day. Night times rolls around. She thinks, maybe. I rejected him, but, let me just, Wattpad. Let me just make a whole imagination about them. Maybe. But rejected. The next day comes around. Same thing. Never could. And she speaks to the person this time. That person is so funny. A little bit awkward. They catch her attention. They kind of rhyme together like a song. But this person is bad on paper. She would never be that person. She can't be that person. Her parents were like that, so she can't be that person. So why is something in her pushing and pushing, and every day she sees this person, that push is getting harder and harder, but she keeps hitting reject. So why is it still pushing? And so after a little while, she sits to herself, and the next day she's walking around with her friends, and she sees that couple, and she realizes they probably rejected it as many times as she did at first. But that momentum kept building because something in them felt like home. Something was recognized by them inside that pushed them to repeat such a pattern. And it did not matter if they were never wanted to be like their great grandparents who were toxic, never wanted to be like their parents who were toxic. So why was she repeating the circle? It made absolutely no sense. No sense whatsoever. So the next day she sees that person again. This time that person isn't talking to her as much. That person doesn't want as much to do with her. So now she's feeling drawn to speak to that person. She comes up to that person and she's talking. It's a normal day, normal things. And she realizes this is how it happens. This is how it happens. And then she looks around and she realizes that she has been in the pool this entire time. And the only people who were able to break this pattern of toxicity that has parasited, that has infected their own family line, is because they realized that they were in the pool and they learned how to swim out of it. This isn't a pool that she jumped in. This was a pool that she was born in. And she has just been floating on this entire time. Until she realized that there were sharks in the water. She has been floating here her entire time, saying, oh, a shark could never eat me. Oh, that could never be me dancing with sharks. But she's been in the pool this whole time. And that creates a sense of heartbreak, of disgust in herself, to understand that, wow, one, she has no idea who she is. Two, she's in the pool with sharks. And as long with other generational curses that she had to break, now she realized, I'm tasked with learning how to swim now. And life doesn't stop when you learn how to swim. When you're trying to learn how to swim in this pool, life keeps going and you just have to learn. Or you can't. Or you can keep floating. And one day a shark is going to attach itself to you. And you're going to drown. So it's either you learn how to swim or you drown. And that sense of disgust slapped her in the face. Sure did. Sure did. Because it was just that Kelly and Mark and everybody else who was in this situation just didn't realize that they were in the pool. And that was it. They just felt at home and they stayed home. It was like They were in an apartment and they never left their apartment to find a house because their apartment was content. Their mother was in an apartment, their mother's mother was in an apartment. And that's a dangerous thing. So I'm telling y'all this story because I want you to realize that using that word never doesn't mean it won't happen. Thinking you're above the pattern does not mean you aren't moving in the pattern. A generation cannot be broken until you break it. That is the whole point of this. You don't just align and everything gets broken. You have to keep breaking down these walls. And it gets exhausting. But like I said, you either learn how you swim or you drown. And that's all, y'all. God bless. Have a good night.